Good morning from New York City, and hello and welcome to 5 in 15, the only show that gives you Pakistan and the rest of South Asia's top 5 stories, curated and analyzed by me, Wajahat Saeed Khan, in 15 minutes. Please share, like, subscribe, and comment to support independent journalism. We will start with a quick look at the morning papers. We will start with Dawn, Pakistan's premier English daily, where the top story, like all other papers, is dominated by news about the judiciary in Lahore High Court, where Justice Alia Neelam has been sworn in as the first Chief Justice of the Lahore High Court. This is a big deal for women in Pakistani jurisprudence, but it's an even bigger deal when it comes to assessing the role that the judiciary is playing right now. Both in a good way and a bad way when it comes to Pakistan's current unending political standoff between the military-led establishment versus Imran Khan, the former Pakistani Prime Minister, who is incarcerated and also going through the grind of a trial. We will come to Khan's story in just a bit. But this is a good day for the Lahore High Court and women in the Pakistani legal system. The vacancy is going to have long-term effects. It's changed. The appointment is going to have long-term effects because it's changed the setup in terms of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, where the chap who was just replaced by Alia Neelam, who was the former Chief Justice of the Lahore High Court, has been upgraded, promoted to the Supreme Court, which these days is hearing a critical case. But that is just not today's news. That's yesterday's news. So if you want to catch the rest of it, go back to our vlog yesterday. We'll quickly move on to the Tribune, which is another Karachi-based paper run by the Express Group. Same headline, same ramifications, same reiteration. But really, the more interesting coverage of this is by the country's largest media group, the Jung Group, whose English daily, The News, covers this as a historic moment again, but more importantly, the news also highlights the actual real big elephant in the room, which is the Imran Khan case, which the judiciary, another part of the judiciary, is hearing. Now, the man you see in your picture right now on your screen is not Imran Khan. His name is Pervez Khattak. He is one of Khan's former deputies, one of his oldest childhood friends. They used to be in college together in HSN in Lahore. But Khattak has, he's turned the tables on Khan and has become the government's witness in a convoluted case, also called the £190 million corruption case. Now, Khan, who's been in jail now since August 5, 2023, last year that is, Khan is in more than a bit of a pickle, but he's also on the rise. He's going through a seesaw mechanism. There's good days and there's bad days in the courts for Khan. We saw some good days recently, where he was acquitted out of a couple of cases, including the Tosha Khana case, which was another corruption case. But the pending cases right now, there's two of them which remain. One of them is this case, the £190 million reference, as it's called. Now, this is a complicated case because it involves Britain and Britain's anti-corruption authorities, which seized and fined around £190 million, to be exact, from Pakistani real estate tycoon Malik Riaz. Now, I don't want to bore you with the details, but the story goes something like this: that Malik Riaz was caught by the Brits, he was fined by the Brits, and he was fined a lot of money by the Brits. And the money had to be returned to Pakistan only because the Pakistanis were also owed money by Malik Riaz in another case which he'd lost in the Pakistani judicial system. Somehow or the other, the basis of the case is that the money made it back to Pakistan. It was discussed how it would be put back in the Pakistani legal system. and the Pakistani financial system. And during the course of one cabinet meeting, when Imran Khan was Prime Minister, where the money was effectively transferred to the Supreme Court, where a settlement was then effectively reached to forgive all sins regarding Malik Riaz, who then, in what is allegedly a quid pro quo to please the former Prime Minister, and this is where the crux of the case is, who then went on to grant a huge piece of real estate to the former Prime Minister and his wife, who would then make a university on that piece of real estate. Now, Khan is alleging that he's made no money in all of this. He's only a trustee of that university. Malik Riaz is silent, not in the country, but people from Khan's former cabinet, people from Khan's former staff are beginning to speak up, including this man. Now, this is the second, one of the second staffers of Khan to testify against him. The first one was Azam Khan, who was Khan's principal secretary. So far, the narrative that the state has tried to build around Imran Khan has, well, not really been brought by the courts. They're not really buying it. But I would say that this case is beginning to show like it has legs, because Khattak so far is the highest ranking cabinet official to testify against Khan. The testimony was in Adiala jail. The press was not allowed to attend part of it. In fact, the press was harassed outside the jail premises, eventually allowed after a big song and dance with the police, and then put in a corner of the courtroom where they couldn't hear the proceedings. Khan had to personally intervene to ask the judge to let the press in and listen to what was going on. According to court reporters, Khan and his former old school friend didn't even make eye contact. In fact, Khan went on smiling while Khattak went on to do his thing. Now, Khattak has an important role to play in all of this because he's also the former chief minister of what is one of Pakistan's most strategic pieces of real estate, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Now, Khattak is a non-entity politically speaking right now. He's lost elections in the recent February 8 polls after trying to start a breakaway faction of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, presumably sponsored by his friends in the military. But the very fact that he is the highest ranking former cabinet member indicates that the people who don't want Imran Khan to come out of jail and thus will do whatever it takes to keep him there, upping the stakes and upping the ante. So this is clearly a pretty major deal for the prosecution, who so far have not managed in multiple cases to get anything on Khan. Now, this particular case is a complicated one because it involves the British authorities as well. It involves one of Khan's other staffers, Shahzad Akbar, who's now in self-exile in Britain. It involves Pakistan's richest, if not richest, one of Pakistan's most richest and powerful men, Malik Riaz. And it also involves another staffer of Imran Khan's, Zulfi Bukhari, another well-established Pakistani politician who's living in England, and also involves Khan's wife. So it's a complicated case. It could go anywhere, but really, it's a big day for the prosecution. The story, however, which that was our first story. That's number one in our top five. The second story in our top five, which is sad to announce and even sadder to note that it's not being covered in the Pakistani press, is this story by The Guardian. Now, The Guardian has done a pretty remarkable job in tracking Pakistan, but this story really hits home and especially resonates personally with me because of the treatment being meted out to journalists. Now, a record has been set, in fact broken, for the most number of journalists killed in Pakistan this year. All 4 provinces of Pakistan saw journalists killed. 7 journalists have been killed in the 6 months that have just passed. The latest of them being this man, Kamran Dawar, who was killed in May in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. The most recent victim was Khalil Gibran, who was the former president of a press club in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa again. Now, there are every journalist has a story, but unfortunately, most of the men, and they have all been men who have been killed, are more low-profile journalists from smaller towns and cities. Um, these guys didn't necessarily have a huge footprint. They didn't necessarily have huge followers and lots of followers in social media, etc. But they were they were killed probably because of that. Now, according to the Freedom Network, 53 journalists have been killed between 2012 and 2022. 3 of those years, Imran Khan, by the way, was in power. So none of this resonates heavily on Khan. This doesn't disqualify Khan for not being a part of this of the treatment meted out to journalists. However, the even sadder statistic is that only 2 cases have resulted in the perpetrators of the crime being punished. The overall state of Pakistani journalism is complicated, to say the least. According to the World Press Freedom Index, Pakistan now ranks 152 out of 180 countries. It's slid 2 points. It's clearly one of the world's most dangerous places to work from. Interestingly, the province of Sindh, which is ruled by what claims to be Pakistan's most progressive party, the People's Party of Pakistan, has also seen a rise in those killings. Quickly, let's move to the economy, which is our third story. There is bad news and more bad news regarding the economy. This data is from last year. It's from Data Darbar. That's the source of this graph. The graph is pretty simple. I don't think I need to explain it because it's pretty dismal. Startup funding activity in Pakistan has plummeted and really hit rock bottom. Now, this is 2023's data, but wait for it. Look at how it drops from the Imran Khan era, where things were really well peaking, so to say. This is the 2021-2022 Raj of Imran Khan, where one of his supporters clearly says, "Thank you, PDM and SIFC." That, for those of you who might not understand Pakistan's myriad acronyms, that stands for the current dispensation, which is the Pakistan Muslim League, the People's Party and their friends who are in power, and the SIFC, which is basically a constitutionally mandated part of the cabinet which runs the economy, but it's really run by the army. Anyways, that experiment has failed, and the startup funding has plummeted. But this is still last year's data set. What's even more troubling is this tweet this morning by Pakistan's Bloomberg correspondent, Fasi Mangi, who corroborates and checks this according to Magnet, whose report I'm just going to show you about startup funding on emerging markets. Pakistan's startup funding has dropped by 92%. So the figure that I just showed you, this figure has dropped, which is this figure is right here. This figure has dropped. This 75.6 million has now dropped, according to Mangi and Magnet, which is, and I'm going to show you the report in just a minute, to just 3 million. That's a 92% drop. Now, many emerging markets in the area, in the Middle East, North Africa area, have dropped. They've had a 34% drop. Pakistan's drop is 3 times the regional drop. That's insane. I mean, I for one can't believe it. But that, according to these guys. Now, if you're enjoying our show so far, please share, like, subscribe, comment, and support independent media. But we're hitting our 15-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap it up. Our fourth story is, of course, is also economy related, and that is from the finance minister, who's done his first interview with the Financial Times. The FT is a fantastic piece of journalism. It's one of the world's best sources on international on the political economy and finance, but there's nothing exciting about this story. I'm going to paste it in our live comments. for our regular viewers. But there's nothing exciting in this story at all. It's Mohammad Aurangzeb, Pakistan's finance minister slash savior, effectively addressing that this is Pakistan needs to get real, and effectively confessing that this is not going to be Pakistan's last IMF bailout. The excuses for more taxes are put on the debt servicing burden. But what's strange is that, even stranger still, is that Aurangzeb and his party is seeing dissent from within. This is a tweet by Mushahid Hussain Sayyid. He's one of the more seasoned senators in the Pakistani parliamentary system. He is a PMLN senator, but also has very close ties to the military. He has a mind of his own, and that's why I respect him for his opinion. And he responds to a newspaper ad, which you can see here, probably worth millions of rupees, put in all the major papers in Pakistan today by the government, effectively lauding itself for its budget. Now, Mr. Sayyid, this is strange and interesting and important to read, because Mr. Sayyid is a part of the ruling party. But this is what he says about his own government. He says, wow, what a waste. Government through PR, with newspapers plastered with big advertisements paid for from the public exchequer. What about policy changes where it matters rather than routine PR? No austerity, no cut in wasteful expenditure, no downsizing, no relief to the poor, no course correction, no bold decisions, yet government needs to act rather than acting. It is sad that the government has chosen, at a time when the salaried middle class is beginning to swell the streets of Islamabad, the government has chosen to laud itself through taxpayer money in newspapers saying, we're not going to cut your taxes, by the way, and this is good for you. It's insane that the government had to do this. But you know what's even more insane is this story by Reuters. This hasn't got enough play, but this story really says it all, and it's worth blowing up on the screen so that everybody can see. Reuters, and not just Reuters, but every news channel locally in Pakistan has covered this, but needs to be covered and thought about in more detail. The Pakistanis have been spying on each other for decades. Pakistan's national security state has multiple intelligence agencies doing multiple things to multiple people. The biggest intelligence agency of them all is the ISI, the Inter-Services Intelligence Directorate. That directorate has been, for years now, decades now, been intercepting phone calls, not just of foreign spies and Indian or Israeli-sponsored terrorists, but also, very importantly, of important Pakistani politicians, public office holders, etc. Now, a young and brave judge in the Islamabad High Court system has, for the past few months, been probing the various leaks, audio leaks as they're being called, of phone calls involving politicians, involving judges, involving the families of these people, which are leaked to blackmail, to pressurize these public office holders. What the question which really is asked by this judge of the Islamabad High Court, Babar Sattar, is that, are the intelligence agencies allowed to do this? Because they're clearly doing this. So to cover their previous sins, the intelligence agencies of Pakistan have now been given quick cover by the government of Pakistan, which is obviously just the front office of the military-led establishment, to actually, believe it or not, to say that we now authorize Pakistan's premier intelligence agency, which has been doing this for decades, we now authorize to officially do it. It was doing it unofficially, but now they can officially survey a phone call for any national security offense for any purpose of anyone at any time. This is yet another example of Pakistan backsliding democratically and entrenching itself as I wouldn't even say a national security state, but I would say a police state at this point. Our last and fifth and last story of the day is from the New York Times, written by a friend of mine, Zia Rahman and Christina Goldbaum. The story, as the headline says for itself, asks a question about Pakistan and its relationship with China. As violence surges, can Pakistan protect its Chinese projects? Subline. China has invested billions in mega projects across Pakistan, but a resurgent militant violence is threatening to derail badly needed investment. Now, this is the New York Times, and that's why this is a very big story. We haven't seen Pakistan and China discussed in a story in the Times, the world's newspaper of record, in a while. But the story is pretty simple. China helped Pakistan make CPEC, a multi-billion-dollar flagship project of the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative, which is China's $1 trillion adventure to connect the world through its infrastructure planning and development. Now, Pakistan has basically, failed to launch CPEC. And one of the reasons, according to the Times, is the incessant insecurity across Pakistan's different provinces. The Times goes on to document one event after the other, starting from a few years ago till this year, where Chinese engineers, Chinese investors, Chinese infrastructure projects have been targeted by Pakistan-based groups. China has effectively gotten sick of this, asked Pakistan to either get its house in order, which hasn't happened, or asked Pakistan to maybe let Chinese private security contractors do the job. That hasn't happened as well. And now the story ends in the end. The story ends in Gwadar, which is supposed to be Pakistan's answer to Singapore, Pakistan's answer to Dubai, as one of the world's great deep water ports. Gwadar has failed to launch as well. And now what the Pakistanis have done in desperation, according to the Times, is build trenches in Gwadar, thus effectively partitioning the city between the Chinese and regular folks, the haves and the have-nots. That is what the New York Times is reporting. Quite dismal as far as the news day is concerned, but that was our top 5 in 15. This is a new format. If you like it, please share, like, subscribe, and support independent media. I'd love to see your comments. I'd love to see your feedback. I keep experimenting with different types of news, different languages for different audiences. The whole point of doing something in English versus my regular Urdu is to reach a part of the Pakistani or Pakistan watching population, and not just in Pakistan, but in so many other countries. I think while half of my audiences are in Pakistan, the other half are all over the world. And I'm hoping that Pakistan, which is effectively isolated at this point and has done a pretty good job, a remarkable job of shooing off a lot of its friends and independent observers, should get a little more internationalized in the independent media space. Thus, I'm hoping to do at least a couple of reports a day, one in Urdu for my regular audiences, and one in English for what I hope is a more larger, newer, expansive audience, so that Pakistan doesn't remain isolated. Thank you for supporting me. The idea was to do this in 15 minutes. Slow start. It's a little late here in New York. It took us around 24 minutes, but I'm hoping that you support this format. So just like you support my Urdu news, I would hope that you would support my English news and analysis as well. Thank you for watching. And again, share, like, subscribe, and comment. Support independent media. Support independence. Take care.